It's medium?
Mr. Salomon?
Medium, that's right.
Mr. Salomon, we're live.
We ready?
Yep. Good evening, everyone. This is the Thursday, December 12th, Council Rock School District Facilities Committee Agenda Meeting. I am Ed Salomon, School Board Member. We're going to go around the table and announce who we are, starting to my right.
Rob Troyer, Superintendent.
Matt Ferguson, Director of IT.
Pauline Borgia, Facilities Coordinator.
Mary Ann McKee, School Board.
Kristen Martell, School Board.
Ed Tate, School Board. Steve Roy, Regent. Doug Taylor, Director of Operations.
Mark Bialik, School Board.
And on the phone calling in this evening, we have Dr. Thorwart and Andy Block from the School Board as well. Quickly, for those listening at home, we have a very robust agenda this evening. I'm going to turn it over to Doug Taylor. We're going to flip the agenda a little bit. We're going to go right to Mrs. Pauline Borgia to talk about facilities, I believe, right, Doug?
Yes. So I'll kick it off. A few months ago, we were here a few months back, 4 or 5 months ago, when we kicked this off, and we wanted to talk about facility use fees and modifying the fees a bit to align them with some of the neighboring school districts. So we found that we are low in a lot of areas, and we did our benchmarking with Centennial, Central Bus, Pennsbury, New Hope, Salisbury, Penridge. And when I say we, it was mostly Pauline. So Pauline is here because she really did the homework on all of these things. She manages the use of our facility. She does a tremendous job. She deals with a lot of outside groups, a lot of internal groups, and it's a big challenge to manage. In saying so, we just want to review with the group what we would propose to move slightly. And I think the big thing is we didn't want to move anything so far that it compromised the use of our facilities. That was the biggest concern, right? So we didn't want to increase things and price ourselves out of leasing buildings. But we also wanted to make sure that we were covering our costs and making sure that we were able to perhaps put some funds aside to maintain the facilities so that if we have to replace something because of the additional use, that we have some money to take care of it. I don't know if we want to go over all of these item by item. I'm just looking to go through this and get some sort of nod that we would then bring this to, I guess, presumably to the board for action.
Yes, because we would be changing the policy.
Right. Okay. So we have, I don't know if you want to do this, Pauline, if you want me to just kind of you want me to go through it, you can answer questions. We looked at the high school, the athletic field use. On the left in the green is the existing fee structure. On the right in the gray is the proposed fee structure. And this would be something that we would implement next year, not this year. But we wanted to get word out to all the outside groups and other folks that use the facilities so that they're prepared for the changes as they work with their groups or committees or whoever they are that would be affected by it. But you can see high school athletic field, nonprofit was 10, for-profit was 20, and we're looking to go 40 and 75. And that really puts us in alignment with a lot of the other districts. We have a lot of spreadsheets and other documents that we can share with you in greater detail when we put together a recommendation letter.
And that's for a 4-hour block of time, excuse me.
For a 4-hour block.
That's
right?
for 4 hours.
Yeah. So, auditorium use, we are pretty much in alignment with most. We wanted to look at the nonprofit and move that up about $100 for a 4-hour time slot. So, the auditorium additional hours the same day. Right now, nonprofit would pay nothing for additional 4 hours. For-profit is $150. We're saying that $25 per hour for nonprofit and $150 an hour for profit.
Doug, Mr. Bialik has a question.
So, I'm just curious, what drove the decision to increase the auditorium in this pattern bit through the rest of it? You increased the not-for-profit, but you kept the for-profit the same. Is that just a market sampling?
I thought it was a fair price.
Based
I thought it was
on,
fair what they were paying. It's mostly the ballet groups, the dance recitals that are the for-profit groups that are using the auditoriums. And, they use it for several rehearsals and recitals, and, it adds up. and I thought it was in line and fair.
With the other districts that we were looking at.
And what's an example of a not-for-profit that would use the auditorium?
Council Rock Education Foundation, the speaker series
Okay,
would be an example.
that's interesting. Okay, so we
There
charge.
aren't a lot.
We charge the Education Foundation to use our facilities?
I can't remember. I charge them custodial. You know what, I don't charge them a usage
Okay,
fee.
that makes sense.
That's right. But, let's say that the Bucks County Intermediate Unit, sometimes they have events, and they're charged as well.
Can you
It
say that
depends
one
on
more
the
time?
event. The BCIU,
Okay.
sometimes they're charged. It depends on the event, if I'm being asked to waive a fee.
I'm okay, I feel like I'm okay with the IU, charging the IU. I think I like our policy. Crap.
Yes,
Because.
forgive me.
No, that's fine.
I get my
No.
letters mixed up sometimes.
Yeah, I would say the CREF and Crunchy, both, the coalition, I mean, we actually, keep their offices here in the building.
Right, yeah.
So, to speak to the partnership that we have with them.
Right.
So a lot of these are like that, where they're, auxiliary gym is 2,200, it's 40 and 200. We didn't necessarily bump everything, only things that we felt needed to be bumped slightly to be in line with what other districts are doing. So we're not being greedy, we're not looking to make money off of people, we're really looking to cover some of the costs that we have to pay. Because we have custodians that have to be there, that get paid, and if we have anyone else that has to be present, to assist with that. And there are no major jumps in the high school, I don't believe, other than gym for a 4-hour period, 500 to 700 for an outside, for a for-profit group. But that's $50 an hour, essentially, for a 4-hour time slot. And then high schools, you can see the track stayed the same, exterior courts, jumped minimally for nonprofit. For 4 hours, we're talking about a $20 change, so $5 an hour. The exterior court lighting, we didn't really define any fee to utilize the lights, we're now saying $25 an hour if you want to use the lighting, after hours, after daylight. Parking lot, this is a bigger bump. It was 4 hours, it was $50 for profit, now it's $300. And that's in alignment with what other districts were charging, I believe, as well. Natatorium, we don't really offer to for-profit groups, our programs are utilizing that.
We don't rent it at all.
Right. So, Walt Snyder Stadium, I think that is pretty much the center. Hourly rate is the same, and that is mostly in alignment with other folks. Stadium lighting, again, charging for lighting what we did before. Tournaments, gym for 8-hour day, that was a pretty...
Hey, Doug?
Yeah.
Doug, quick question.
Yeah.
Is there, what's the rationale for separating stadium lighting from just a flat fee for stadium use? Is that for daylight savings time?
I think what we're saying is if we turn the lights on and we're using electric, that we're charging for the utility use, essentially.
No, I completely get that, but what's the rationale for breaking it out as a line item with a per 4 hours? So if I'm reading this correctly, for a nonprofit, it'd be $75 per 4 hours?
Yes.
So I guess my question is, does it make more sense to have one flat fee through the year as opposed to calling out stadium lighting? Because, based on the way that the days get longer and shorter, part of the year they'll need no light, part of the year they'll need 4 hours, and then, probably half the year they'll be somewhere between that.
I don't really ever charge for stadium lighting. I just felt as though there should be something in here just in case a use would warrant that we would want to charge.
We could do it hourly, I mean, that way...
I think that should be per hour.
Yeah, we could change the banding to hourly, which probably makes more sense.
So $75 an hour.
Yeah, because especially when you got 6 to 10 over at South with the new turf
Right.
that's up there, you're gonna, and we're gonna want to take our, this
Actually, go
looks like we're changing our overall rate because of the lighting, so we are taking it up. think it might be simple for folks to get their arms around.
Right.
You know, we tell them we're, you know, it's just per hour, one flat fee.
Well, can I pose a contra position on that? So, but wouldn't it be beneficial for a group to be able to plan their costs, and maybe they make a decision to do something during the day instead of the evening? I don't know, because I don't plan these events based on what they need. And I think if we're going to have a fee, we should charge the fee, right, for lighting personally. If we're gonna have it up there, other than that, it's subjective, and that's probably not fair to,
I don't think that's gonna make or break a group's decision to hold an event.
yeah.
Is there a certain
And
model?
the reality is most of the use is gonna be the soccer clubs, which are long-term contracts,
I
or
was
at least
just,
today, but we bring more close to.
I was just wondering what the model was from other schools in terms of the lighting.
And there isn't always one, if you want me to look it up and see if I can find one, I will, but it was like comparing dragons and artichokes. All the districts, they're all so very, very different in the way they charge.
Yeah, Chris, my experience from renting a lot of these out is that they actually do separate. They'll pay for the field and they'll pay for the lights.
Let me just,
They're buying different blocks of time, sometimes when they need lights and sometimes not.
to give you an example, Centennial charges $195 an hour for their nonprofit resident groups and $585 an hour for their for-profit groups. Central Bucks charges $75 an hour, and I didn't get any other lighting charges from any other district, so I came up with something I thought was reasonable.
I think it should be $1,500.
A lot of money. The problem is no one will use it.
Right, how often does Centennial Fields help, you know? Yeah, what the usage is of it? No?
And if I did, it would have been months ago, so
Okay.
it went out of my brain.
So we'll look at that. We'll look at hourly versus, that's a good point.
I find it interesting, though, if I can make another comment, that the parking lot potentially brings more revenue than the turf.
The turf fields are used regularly, the parking
Oh,
lot.
I'm sorry, that's $300 4 hours compared to $200 an hour.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Parking lots used for car washes and,
Car washes and Newtown Theater as a fundraiser has a food truck festival. So it doesn't get used a lot by for-profit, very, very rarely.
so middle schools are basically the same as high schools with the exception to the gyms, which I think we charge, is that a little less or a little more, Paul?
I'm sorry, where are you?
The gyms, middle school, a little less,
A little more.
a little more. Well, this was tournament.
Right. That's a tournament as opposed to just a daily, 4-hour use.
I know, it was 700 for the gym, high school, so it was 400 for 4 hours for the middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was less. Yeah. And tournaments are less because of the facilities are not equal to what the high schools are. So those are the proposed, for the elementary schools, I don't think anything too significant, 35 to 25, $5, $15 for a field, 25 is 10. We bumped the number for profit for a field, to $50 for 4 hours. Again, not a lot of money when you have a big group and you're asking for a couple bucks from each player to cover the field use. So, nothing major there. I think some of the other things that we were looking to change, we talked a little bit last time about summer camp participants, and should we consider a percentage-based fee and we'll per camper fee? And I think after more discussion, we grew concerned because some groups are 5 people, some groups are 30 people, and some people can raise $15,000, $40,000, and some groups can't. And to charge a percentage fee isn't real fair, because some will pay a lot for a small group and others will pay less.
I also felt there was a difference between a basketball group who basically, all they're doing is playing basketball, as opposed to, writing an SAT or the physics and flight camp where the kids have to purchase a kit or it's included. So in other words, Mr. Warwick charges $4.99 for a week, whereas another camp might charge $200 for a week, and that's just based on their expenses. So I didn't think a percentage of the camper fee was necessarily fair.
And when they're paying on top of, per camper fee, they're paying for facility.
The per camper fee is the fee to Council Rock.
If they're using a gym, do they have to pay an additional fee for
No.
using the gym?
No.
So we're saying $25 per camper from whatever group it is to us to use the gym.
For whatever space they're
Or whatever
using.
space they're
Right.
using, right? Whatever the space is.
We thought about this as a perk, because most of the camps are run by our own teachers or coaches. So, you know, we just wanted to offer them a reasonable fee so that they could run a camp, for mostly our kids. You know, but there are other factors involved. We don't charge extra for air conditioning per se. So when I really did a look at it, it seemed to me that the cost to Council Rock really wasn't proportionate with what we were charging the camp, the person running the camp. So that's why I felt a per camper fee would be in line rather than a percentage, and at least it would bring us a little more money without hurting the coach or the kids, because the chances are it's going to be passed along to the kids and the families.
And then the other items were just,
So, when you said it wasn't proportionate to the cost of the school, in what way? Was it costing us money?
Well, it depends on whether or not they're using a gym, which would require air conditioning, or whether they're using a field, which doesn't require anything. You know, air conditioning adds up. So, if you look at everything, the whole summer as a whole, maybe, you know, it was more of a wash, because I'm charging the same thing for a field as I would be for a gym. But if you look at it specifically, yeah, the gym's gonna cost us more.
Is there a way to surcharge if they're using the gym to offset somehow? I just don't want to be in a position where it's costing us money.
Neither do I, which is why I suggested a $10 per camper rate. And then I didn't want to get into different fees for different spaces too. You know, you're charging a gym for, you know, one fee for a gym and then one fee for a field, or what if they're using a field and a gym? It just gets very complicated. So the easiest and simplest way to do it, in my opinion, is just a per camper fee, wherever they're using it, and then it'll all come out in the wash.
Before we vote on these changes, will these be shared with the coaches and others who run camps?
I always give as much notice as possible when we're going to raise a fee. And in some instances, I would even call people that I felt close with to say, hey, what do you think about this? Would this break the bank? Would this really hurt you? Would it be a great impact? Or do you think that's something that's fair? And most of the samplings that I did, people thought that it was fair.
Okay.
So what you're saying is all of the things that we're proposing, we should maybe vet through these groups before we put it on the board agenda, so that you're not making some decision that could really impact someone negatively.
I don't want to hear back from one of our coaches after we make the change that what we've imposed on them is just not feasible. And because our coaches and others, teachers run some really valuable summer programs that all of our families have enjoyed.
Right.
And they should be self-supporting. They should cover their costs. But I don't want to surprise somebody and find out there's something that we really hadn't considered.
I agree.
Well, let me give you some examples. For instance, the volleyball camp, they charge the camper $210, and we're charging $15 a camper.
Sure.
So, to me, it was a no-brainer that $10 was reasonable across the board.
Right. I'm not anticipating pushback.
No, but it's fair.
No surprise.
We can review these with the respective groups and just
Absolutely.
get a consensus before
Yep.
we put it on the agenda. We have time. We don't have to put this on.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
This doesn't have to be January or February. I mean, we can do this in March, as long as we review it with the groups ahead of time. Yes.
A quick question, when was the last time we raised rates?
5 years ago.
5 years, it's been 5 years.
2014, yeah.
Time.
I've got a question, if you get a minute.
Sure.
You're on, go ahead.
Listen, when you review these, I would defer more to our not-for-profit people. I mean, if you're making money off of us, I really don't care if our rates are high, or if you think they're too high. You know what I mean? It's cutting into your profit margin, and that's not what schools are about. So, I'm more concerned about our not-for-profit organizations, to be honest with you.
Which is why they're minimally, my suggestion was minimal raise for nonprofit.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike, because for the for-profits, it's just gonna be a market response, just like anything else. So if we push too high, then we're gonna know, because we're gonna have less activity. But I completely agree with Mike's statement there.
Okay.
You know, we talk about our coaches and our staffs. Well, if our coaches and our staffs are turning a profit in our facilities, that also looks bad. Sorry, it does. So,
It is, they are, they're all for profit.
I mean,
I think it's good just to get the feedback.
yeah, absolutely.
It's a good suggestion.
It's a great suggestion, because we're either gonna get radio silence and we know it's okay, or
Yeah.
we're gonna get emails, right? So, it's helpful.
Yeah, so definitely,
So let me ask, can I ask a question? And Pauline, I don't want to put you on the spot. If we go ahead with the price increases as highlighted, how much money based on a prior year do we expect to make more of? Or how much more money do we expect to see coming in?
I don't know, because I don't know what you're gonna approve you think is fair or what you don't, so I don't know if it's,
So we haven't done a cost analysis
Capital.
that this is worth everything that we're looking at?
well, it's gonna be more than it was. You can see the, proportion of raise. But, so no, I don't know. I've not done any calculations where that's concerned about.
I mean, we could look at that.
Yeah, I think, Ed, to your point, we've also got a significant, and I can't speak to the auditoriums and the pool and the indoor stuff, but just relative to, Walt Snyder Stadium and the turf over at South, we've got longer-term contracts that probably eat up most of those hours, which I would expect that we'll want to be a little bit more aggressive with those two, depending on the, the overall hour commitment we get. So, I think some places it might be appropriate to try and find that analysis, and other places it might be a waste of time just because of everything's tied up in a contract. You know what I mean?
Cruiser generally goes over their hours and owes us a premium every year.
So are you saying that we have contracts with for-profits or any groups that go multiple years that would not be affected by this increase?
They're not for profits.
Okay, either way.
Yeah.
Do we have, like Cruiser, for example, do we have a multi-year contract that
It's a
locks-
five-year
Yes.
contract, and that's the only contract that we
that
have.
fixes in a rate for them?
There's a monthly fee that they pay for a certain amount of hours per week. And we calculate that, and every September, if they've gone over those hours, they pay additional at the rate of $160 an hour. If-
So any changes we would make to these fees don't affect Cruiser because they have a contract?
Correct.
Okay.
When does that expire?
Yeah, until they resign it.
I don't have that information with me. I would think it's probably.
I think they've got 2 to 3 years left on the existing
That's what I'm
North
saying.
contract, and obviously, we've got a South contract they'll want to write, so my sense from talking to them is that we'll tie the two together when we start having discussions of the South turf with other organizations. So, I think we'll be starting from scratch with them the minute we open that conversation. And I just didn't want to open that conversation with them until we establish what the baseline for, the new fees were. And once we know what that is, that'll help inform the board as we go to negotiate a new deal with those guys.
I also spoke to Jill recently about the fees that they pay to other districts when they have to go outside of our district and use other stadiums, and our fees were right in line. That's why I didn't suggest raising them, just as an FYI.
There's only so much grass,
Who's that, Caruso?
and there's only so much facilities
Jill from Cruiser,
that
yes.
you can play.
Yeah, Caruso's getting some sweetheart deals though, so.
Well, we're gonna have another field, as you said, at South, and that actually goes till 10:45. That'll be out by 11, but the field lights have to be off at 10:45. So we have
Yeah.
a better deal there than we do at North.
Yeah, we should probably take the whole Caruso deal offline with a subset.
Okay.
So whatever kind of analysis you can give us would help. I don't know, I don't think you have to do multiple analyses, just one. What, you know, if everything stayed like it has, do a 3-year average or something like that, maybe Bill can help. This is how much more money we'd make, you know, $5 million this year.
So we can work on
Yeah,
that
we-
together. That's
we do that.
really it as far as facilities use. So we'll do some more homework, we'll collect information, we'll confirm with the groups to make sure we're not out of line. And if maybe they want to pay more, we'll ask if they want to pay more. And, we'll see how it goes, and then we'll put together something, for you to see, to help you better understand.
Yeah, and I think it's safe to say most groups know this type of thing is coming,
Mhm.
and it's kind of on the table any year.
Mhm.
But we have to, as a group, you have to make those allocations accordingly when you set up registration fees and everything else that comes with running an organization, as you and I often speak about. So, yeah, they know it's coming, and, you know, the amount of kids playing youth sports today is phenomenal. We just don't have enough fields in some cases.
Right?
Yeah, we really don't.
That's true.
And that's not us collectively, that's, you know, on a national spotlight.
Okay.
Cool.
Any other questions on that? You're good to go? Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you very
welcome.
much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful holiday, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What was that again, dragons and
Artichokes.
artichokes? I've learned a lot of new things today.
It's an engineering thing.
I thought it was an education phrase.
Never stop learning.
All right, I'm going to start at the beginning now and get us through here as quickly as we can. I know it's the holiday season, everyone wants to get home, Christmas shop, whatever it is we need to do.
Good night.
Thank you, Pauline. So, it's kind of the regular agenda, a couple things to talk about, some things I want to slow down on and talk a little bit about, but, the energy management piece, we don't have to do that so much. We're still at the 90 cents a square foot for gas and electric combined. We do well. We continue to do well, that's through July. And then we'll start to see a couple other schools come back online, after being, offline. They were put back in August, so the next report will be August. They're always a couple months behind in terms of collecting bills and being able to put together the analysis of where we are. The other thing I want to talk about relative to energy management is that we do continue to use Aramark Energy Services for the monthly report. They have a group of folks that do a nice job collecting. We share our invoices. They put all the information together. They do weather adjustments, and they take a look at where we are from an energy standpoint. I also used to use Aramark Energy Services. They had a person that we worked with closely. They moved on. We had a couple other people. They actually would come in, and when I asked them to come in, we would work together on whatever projects we needed them to look at outside of any other typical construction project. And that could be, hey, we're looking to, you know, we're having some issues at this building. They might look at the controls. They go online and look at the building management systems of all the schools. They look for anything that might be out of ordinary and say, hey, we should take a look at this or that, and maybe that's where we can find some money and energy. At any rate, they haven't had a person that they've really been happy with for a while. Those services, we allocate in the maintenance budget every year, $80,000 as a line item, only upon our request based on hourly services. So if we don't ask them to do anything, that money stays right where it is. Before I came, it was at $100,000, and they took that money every year, whether they did anything or not. So we switched it over to hourly for good reason. What I'd like to do is propose, there's a gentleman named Mike McGarvey, he's been around a while, Matt will probably remember Mike McGarvey. He was with Aramark, he's an energy manager, a certified energy manager, he's an engineer. He was instrumental back in the day in implementing the changes here, where we were paying over $2 per square foot, and now we're, you know, at 90 cents. He helped with a lot of the low-hanging fruit, implement the policies and all those things. I would like to propose that we consider bringing him in through an alternate agreement where he would be paid only upon our request based on, hourly rate, and we would still use it against that line item. He has a good history here, he knows our history, and he works very closely with our HVAC specialist, Gary, who is very good with the system. So I'd like to, at some point, put that as a board agenda to utilize his services based on hourly rates, not to exceed that yearly amount for energy management kind of services. If it's something the board would consider. Right now, I'm not using Paramount for that. So, security update. A couple things here. One is the strategic plan, goal 3, which is a communications tool. We all know that we've implemented ALICE training here, and one of the big components of ALICE is, yes, we learned how to enhance our lockdowns and how to evacuate and other, items relative to ALICE, other tools. However, the key piece of that is knowing when to lock down, knowing when to evacuate, knowing when you have an option to do both. But without the effective communication in the building, it's hard to necessarily exercise ALICE to its full extent. So what we really need to do is, and we have means of communication today, I'm not suggesting we don't, but we need to improve our ability to communicate. And the best way, I think, is everyone has a cell phone. Is implementing a software on a cell phone that can be utilized. So we went and we learned about this Alertus notification software. We saw it in action. We tried it, and it worked very well on our initial tour. North Penn is using this, and it is a tool that basically you pre-program the initial message that can be sent out. You can, if you reminiscent of Bob Reinhardt. So if you hit a panic button, this message is sent out through the entire school on the desktops. Could be Chromebooks, cell phones, marquees that we could put in a gym or an auditorium or a cafeteria that could be loud and might not hear some notification. It can be communicated through the voice over IP phones, two-way radios, fire alarm systems, PA systems, any of those means. You can also use a tool on your phone after a couple of buttons that you have to go through to send an alert from it as well. So if you had an issue in a room and you had to lock down, there was something bad happening, you could use the phone for this notification for an intrusion or an issue such as that. It's a good program, and I think it's worthy. The cost is not exceptional. It's a good cost, low cost. The problem is it's not just the cost of that program. The second piece of that is that we need to make sure that we have a signal in the schools so that if you're using your cell phone, wherever you are in your building, you have the ability to effectively communicate. These phones also allow you to continue to communicate. So when I talked about ALICE, it's real-time information to building occupants. That is the key to making that work. So it used to be, back in the day, Snuffleupagus is in the building, or the plumber is here, or whatever, code silver. But those don't work, because if you're in the building and you hear that, you don't even know if you should run out the door or stand there and wait for somebody. Now we saw Johnny Smith in blue jeans and orange sneakers and a black hoodie. He's coming down the wing towards A3. So everybody knows what's going on. So the ability to do that back and forth with phones with the staff in the building that can also link to the police, to whoever we decide should be linked to that program, would be able to see and hear what's happening. So that's all good stuff. And this is kind of the Alertus tool and their cool marketing stuff. But we need some cell phone signal boosters in the buildings to make sure that we can communicate. And we threw an estimate of about $500,000 for the district, which is about $35,000 per building. But not every building's going to need $35,000 worth of signals. There could be some that need $10,000, but the high schools might need $50,000. It really just depends, and you won't know if you go through, you walk, and you physically test every space to design the system.
Andy had mentioned the last time we talked about this, maybe seeing if we could partner with a communications company, did anyone check on that to see if they want to help subsidize that or maybe pay for it?
I haven't done that. I'd be happy to reach out to,
I think it's worth
yeah, I'm not sure who that would be.
13 phone calls there.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly see if anyone's interested. If they are, that'd be great. If not, we have to make sure that we use a system that allows and recognizes all those other, providers, so that one phone isn't dead and another one's actually worth listening.
So that number is a worst-case scenario?
I believe this would be a worst
Okay.
case scenario.
So, and what is the sense with our law enforcement first responders about making them a partner on this alert system? So we could, in theory, bypass 9/11 and get right to them.
Yeah, they're aware of this, we've gone over this, with them at our monthly meetings.
Feedback was-
Fully on board.
And this
Yeah.
wouldn't actually bypass 9/11, it would automatically send the message to 9/11.
Okay.
So-
But also directly to the,
All the people who need to be notified through a normal event would be notified in addition to.
So in theory, we could put each chief or something like that right on that notification process?
They would.
exactly, yep.
And Hillcrest would work independent of Howland, and it's not talking to every other building, it's within a building. So,
In addition, but you could also make it available on the chief's phone or.
we can assign it.
Or anything.
We can give that access to any group we wish, so.
Yeah, I'd really like to hear about, Andy, do you have any idea whomever should contact in these communication companies? Is there a certain title that they should be looking for to ask this question?
Yeah, you want to get into their engineering group. I think that the question is a valid one around if we contact individual carriers, will the equipment they use work across the broad range of cell phones, because they do use some different technologies.
Yeah.
That'd be a problem.
Or see Verizon, say, yeah, give it for Verizon.
Yeah, Doug, let me do this. Let me go ask a question from some old colleagues at T-Mobile
Okay.
and just kind of say, hey, this is what our challenge is. What would you suggest? And, from there we can determine how to attack it.
That'd be great, I appreciate it. Let me know if I can talk to someone after you do, that'd be really helpful.
Andy,
Yep.
you can suggest that we'll have the T-Mobile logo at the bottom of every school board meeting on YouTube.
So those are two budgetary items that were brought up because we were asked by Bill, hey, what budget items do we have coming up this year that are 50,000 or greater, beyond what we would normally see? And these are two that I brought up that are certainly things I think that are worthy of consideration. And the other that I brought up was Genetec, which is a platform that I know Matt can speak better to than I can, but it is the platform that our cameras, card readers, and security systems work from. And we have a system that is Frevo, which was great at the time, but like every other technology, it gets tired and old and doesn't support all of the new systems that you have. So if we do these new schools, the person we use for security says, you want to go with the Genetec system in this building so that the equipment is up to date? And the answer is no, because it doesn't talk to the platform we currently have. So the card readers that we put in will work with the new system, but the other components, the cameras and other things can't. So as we're looking at Rolling Hills, we're saying, well, which equipment do you want to use? And I have to say, hold off as long as you can on Rolling Hills. If I can get some decision on this soon, I'll tell you that we want to go with the Genetec platform. If I can't, we'll have to go back and replace equipment here. But any buildings we've done already, we're going to have to go back and replace some of that equipment.
Doug,
Yeah, please.
you said that the cameras don't work with the system, the cameras do work. So it's the software we're using to collect the camera's information that's the issue, which is why I really would like us to move to this product. But, so we don't have to replace all the cameras in the district.
No.
Right.
I'm sorry if I said that wrong. We're not replacing cameras. It's what they talk to. Right.
I just want to make sure that was clear.
Right now, our camera systems are talking just fine. That's not an issue at all. If we change this
It's
platform.
horrible.
Right.
And how old's the current system? We did
Um,
discuss this.
This in over 8 years ago. The exact system's been, it's probably close to 10 or 11 years old.
So as we discussed at the finance committee meeting, the lease option, and Doug and I spoke about this yesterday, is something that we should really look hard at because it continues with updates and keeps the system as fresh as possible.
Yeah.
Right, so, and that's really if there's interest in moving this forward, that is really the discussion is, you know, the annual lease would be $118,548, but we pay about $33,000 in fees currently that we will no longer pay when we move to this platform. So that makes the net lease $86,000 a year, because we would no longer pay those other costs. So $86,000, that includes the Blue Diamond service of any technology that comes out. If you buy it, and tomorrow, through the lease, something new comes out, they upgrade the whole district as part of that program, and will continue to do that through the term of the lease.
So that 86K is 100% all in,
All of it.
right? There are no
100%
surprises.
all. Yeah.
Whereas if we go with the purchase, we'll still need the budget.
Well, if you go with the purchase and you say, all right, we know we're gonna put $71,000 away every year, because every 5 years it's likely we're gonna have to replace it, because it'll be antiquated, that we're gonna also pay for upgrades that come along. They're not-
In the interim.
Correct. So it's really a question of an annual purchase allocation of $71,000 for an ongoing lease of $86,000, which covers everything. And I understand, I lease cars, people buy cars, there's different thoughts on that, but with technology and the fact that it changes, I feel like leasing is the better option personally. That's-
I have a question,
I
and
know
I,
you would like leasing.
and I don't know that this question is really specific or relevant to these two security items, but as we're looking at unit lunch, and we're looking at how that might look different compared to our current situation in the high schools, are any decisions that we're making now with safety and security going to be impacted should we fully engage with a unit lunch, knowing that students will be in various parts of the building? As I said, I don't know that it's relevant to these two topics, but as we're looking ahead at security and safety purchases, might they be impacted by unit lunch?
I think one of the things we've done recently that we have wrapped up or are in the process of wrapping up right now, is that we are putting cameras in all the stair towers, and we didn't always have that. Some of those are at upper landings and lower landings, so you can see everything in between. I think that's a really valuable tool to have with unit lunches, because I think some of the kids actually retreat to the stairs to eat and everywhere. So having cameras everywhere is beneficial. I think everything else is really covered. I think we've done a good job seeing, and if we find any spots that we feel need to be supplemented, we do. So I feel like we're in good shape. But
Yeah.
the ability, I'm sorry, the change on this would also help us, along with other changes we're working on with Matt. If we have to see video and look at video or something, it will be much quicker and easier for us to go back and review something, whereas now it's very slow, because the system is really bogged down.
If we don't upgrade the system, the answer to your question is yes, it could have a big impact, because if we hit the threshold for the number of cameras the server will handle, then we have to buy another server, and we have to increase the licensing. The beauty of this is that, in theory, we could put an infinite number of cameras on the system it can handle. Because it's an enterprise class system, so it's designed for hundreds of thousands of cameras, spread out all over the country, but we're gonna be in just, only 18 buildings, so.
So it's built-in flexibility for a long period of time.
Good.
And even going back to the app, to the alert us, and
Yes.
so, we have dead spots
Yeah.
in some of our schools, like significant
Yeah.
dead spots in some of our schools. So now you talk about that rock block and having,
Exactly. I
you know,
wanted to
kids
anticipate
and
that
adults
need.
all over the place. Yeah, I think this becomes even more important with having that hour-long, semi-unstructured time.
Is that staff position you have? Like, I know you had the logos listed up there, but have we ever asked people?
I've not done a study of the staff to say how many different
Yeah, nothing formal or thorough. I think we all have a pretty good, sense or gauge of it, but until we actually have the right people come out and do the test that they need to do.
There's only so many networks in cellular, really, for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, just some of the logos that were up there, I didn't know if people had.
Usually
That was
console.
that specific company, they support all of those.
So they support, so it doesn't mean that we would necessarily care
If
about.
somebody has an
Yeah.
Acme cell phone company, I don't know if it's covered, but.
That's part of the
all
beauty of
those
this, is that it doesn't matter who your provider is. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing with the Genetec that I didn't mention that I should say is that it is cloud-based, and it's supposed to be compatible with, down the road, ongoing changes. It's supposed to be far more friendly than what we've been using, so. I don't know.
Well, that's a certain benefit of the lease, obviously, is that you're gonna upgrade your technology.
So, that's that item. Rolling Hills update, going well. We had 3 classroom addition and a new stage. The steel arrived late for that little piece of the project. However, Penn Builders has done a good job getting that framed, and exterior sheathing is going on, and it will keep up with the rest of the project, although that piece lags behind a bit. They're making up time. Everyone is on track with that. We had a pretty special meeting out here with the entire group of contractors in the trailer the other day for about a half a day. The concrete on this building was poured in place. So from floor to underside of concrete, it's noted as 9'4" on the drawing, the existing drawing. But because it was poured in place, there's areas that are 9 feet, 9'4", somewhere in between. And we're trying to maintain a certain ceiling height. We're trying to put ductwork, sprinkler piping, hydronic piping, lighting, and all other utilities in between the bottom of the structure and our ceiling. So there was a lot of challenge to meet the heights that we're looking for, to put things in the zones that they were supposed to be in. So we met for about 4 hours, even though we have computer-aided drawings that have imaging and modeling and all the things that you do that show flashes and challenges. And we sat and we figured out every area. Each guy would bring up what their concerns were. We had the architect there, Dewey there. And by the end of the day, we worked through all of the issues that we had. We made some adjustments in height. We rerouted some piping. We moved things around. We did things up inside the waffle slab. It was a really good, productive meeting. It was nice to see a group of people come together and work the way they did. It's not often they can get 4 contractors that don't have contracts with each other to sit at the table and hash it out. It went really well. So that was a really good meeting. The site contractor's working hard to get the base course paving in, which they are doing now at the new bus drop. And we're working on the building enclosure. We're either putting plastic where the windows go, or we're in the process of putting permanent windows in, which they're doing along the main entrance. The other piece of this, when we awarded this project, we talked about not putting the terrazzo floors down the 2 long corridors, because we said, let's see where we are once we demolish the building, what unforeseens we find. And we know, I came back to you with a big tank that we found in the ground, and we had some challenges with the roofing because of that undulating roof. The roofing system we had originally specified was a challenge, because if you put a roof on it, it would just follow the profile of the existing roof. And you put a roof drain in an area where it went from 0 to -4 to +4, you get ponding in areas that you shouldn't be seeing ponding on the roof. So we went with a lightweight insulated concrete roof. We made a change out there. It was a minimal change, but it allowed us to put pyramidal slate pipe slopes to every roof drain across the whole top, and it worked well. So I'll show you what some of those changes were, but we're in a position now that I could recommend going and putting that terrazzo floor in and mill and overlaying the parking lot, which the 2 things we wanted to do but weren't sure if we really could. So to show you the scope, this is Collins Road out here, and Jordan, Old Jordan? Yeah, over here. I'm sorry. Collins here and Old Jordan's here. This is the length of the building. This corridor and this corridor here would both be the long east to west corridors on the drawing, would both receive terrazzo floors. We could not put the terrazzo on this short corridor or this short corridor because if we were to do that, it would have pushed this project to the second low bidder. And if we were to add it now, it would look like we were circumventing moving to the next low bidder. And that's a risk we don't want to take, for many good reasons. So I would recommend that we add it down these long corridors. We're going to put a 2x2 vinyl enhanced quartz tile windows like we have in the new classrooms, so the tiles will not be the 12x12 DCC. And that'll get us terrazzo in most of the building. We would also get this,
Just to go back to this slide, please.
Sure.
I just have a question. The way the design is of the hallways where they go in and out, what's the purpose of that, or is it just design?
The purpose, it's designed, it's intentionally designed to kind of open up these corridors. They'd be a bit narrow if you were to maintain, the skinny piece. The columns are set back, where the skinny part of the hallway, where it pinches back in or opens into. So they kind of took these from the columns and opened them out. We also have light monitors above, so we get daylight coming from the roof structure above,
Right.
and it spills into these kind of areas where there's light wells. And that also, we have some high windows in the interior wall that allow some light to spill into these interior-bound classrooms. So we tried to get natural light into the middle of a sprawling building that's relatively dark. So that's the reason that those kind of pop in and out. When you actually go out and look at it, it feels really nice. The partitions are getting there. We want to get this enclosed, we want to get the temporary heat on, get through the new year, and then we want to have a full tour after the new year. Bring you out and meet on a Saturday morning or whatever you want to meet and check it out. But I think it helps maybe even acoustically a little bit too, down those hallways. But it's wonderful. We have natural light around the perimeter, and you can really feel a difference in that building. You'll never know it was the same building. This is the mill and overlay we talked about, the existing lot, which would benefit by that. So in general, we had starting allowances for each of the primes, $418,000 for the GC, for the mechanical contractor, $148,000, electrical $140,000, and plumbing $72,000. And for mechanical, we haven't touched it to date, minimally for electrical and plumbing minimal, you can see. So we still have about $334,000 in allowances for these three primes, which we're trying to obviously not touch. The GC had some items that took us from $418,000 to $319,000, and primarily the roofing changes, the unforeseen tank, and a couple other minor items. It hasn't been anything too bad. We recently put a credit for the allowance of almost $43,000. Engineer still we didn't use, so that's added back into that balance. The terrazzo floors would be about $115,000, the mill and overlay $96,000. The contractor will honor the numbers he gave us on the bid day to add that down. So that's actually really good of them. They don't really have to do that, but they will. We have some unsuitable soils. We have a clear story. The existing gym wall on the roof side, we need to add some insulation and finish on that because there's no insulation really in the wall. We need to maintain a minimum value for LEED gold. It just wasn't really covered on the drawings, so we need to add that on that wall. Ceiling changes due to the varying structural elevation, so there's about a $15,000 change as a result of that half-day meeting we had with all those contractors, which isn't bad considering all the changes we had to make. And then we have an upcoming credit for some library stacks. We had stacks left over when we did shelving, when we did Holland Middle School. Bart Tyler didn't need all of the shelving that we put in that project. We specified the same library furniture for this project, for taking what we didn't use, for applying it to this project, so we'll get a credit for not using as much as we needed to here. And there's some canopy work that we get a credit for from the contractor as well. So if we take these and considering the other outstanding items that we see at this time, we would still have about a $100,000 balance for the GC for the remainder of the project, which I feel comfortable maintaining. So I would recommend going with these changes if you guys are on board with that. I guess I'm not sure what the best instrument is to get that kind of blessing, if I send an email or we have a board discussion, or if it's just a...
I would talk about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm nodding my head.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yes.
Okay. Andy, Mike, you guys,
Andy, Mike?
Yep, you go for it.
I'm not opposed, and I'm thinking ahead, the Soul Finestone budget hasn't changed, but we've gotten some significant. Yeah, I mean, I look at the extra 200 and some odd $1,000 that we're spending here, you know, is that a nice to versus a need to? I'm not opposed to doing everything, I'm just trying to understand at some point these
the
projects
terrazzo floor,
continue to get
the
bigger.
the payback of the terrazzo floor is probably pretty quick, because you'll never replace that floor, and the VCT floors in a hallway, about every 10 years, you're looking at putting a new floor in. So it only takes about,
Okay.
2 cycles of that, and you've paid for the other floor.
20.
Yeah. That's a long payback. I mean, it's
It's
not a 5-year payback, but it is. So from a construction timing standpoint, the building is to be watertight by about now, and we are, I'd say 95% there. We're in good shape. The roof is on. All the mechanical, electrical, plumbing system supports have to be in place. Interior framing and mechanical, electrical, plumbing roughed in by February. The MEP wall equipment in the middle of February. All of the mechanical, electrical ceiling roughed in by middle of March. And 21 March is when the township will look and inspect all those things before we can start putting ceilings in. And I will say we're on track for all these milestones. We build milestones into the contract. We monitor those to make sure the contractors are hitting those, so we know if we're on track to finish in July. The only way to really know where you are, like, continuing to monitor. So we're in good shape. And then we know final completion is July, and we're going to furnish Rolling Hills and then move from the former Richboro Middle School back into the remodeled and expanded building. So just a couple quick shots. If you remember, this was the piece out back. There were some planters, some openings in the roof. And then we built a wall, and we have windows, and these will all be classrooms that now have natural light into the back. So this was exterior space that was captured. And from the back, the playground side, you can see that was the existing structure. That's the new wall. And because we're LEED Gold, we're building under this inset to purposely provide some shading at those windows to keep the sunlight from coming in. It's almost like a light monitor kind of effect. And the existing gym wall from the parent drop-off, we have introduced some window openings into that to get some natural light into that space. It's interesting, this brick veneer, when you put brick over a block wall, there should be masonry anchors every 16 inches to make sure that the wall doesn't pull away from the back wall. And there are little eyes and pins that sit in the eyes against the brick so that it can move. It has a little bit of room to move, but it won't pull away. This wall has no masonry anchors whatsoever in it, so it's really not bad that we end up taking the veneer off of it. It was a little concerning. And this was that piece that was behind that is actually enclosed. This is a 3-classroom addition on back of the existing gym, and that's the stage.
That was like an overhang and sort of walkway.
Yeah, that little walk, the little overhang, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is looking at the new bus loop off of Old Jordan Road. This is where the buses will be in the staff, and kids will come in, a new entry on this side. And then looking at it from the Holland Road side, you can see we actually are putting aluminum frames and windows in these openings now. So we've come a long way from what it once was. Site restoration is going to be another story. It's a little messy. So Feinstein, I know, we have an Act 34 resolution approval on the board agenda for, this month, for next week. And that basically allows us to advertise 20 days before we have a hearing, and the hearing would be, on January 23rd, pending the board approves the advertisement. This is just a little background information. We're about 97,000 square feet with the building. The project budget is $30 million, and the design development drawings are nearly completed. Dewey Engineering put a budget together for that set of drawings, and I'll talk about that budget soon. Element Environmental Solutions performed some additional environmental investigations in November to make sure that we were covering everything we needed to cover. Schrader Group and their team performed some additional work in November as well, continuing to look at things, physical investigations with quarry tiles in the whole building. There was initial discussion, well, we'll just take it out and put a new floor in. Well, I don't know that it's just coming out, right? So we had somebody come in, take a 2x2 area. To take it out was a big challenge, right? They chiseled and when they did get it out, the concrete floor was an absolute mess. We repaired it. But what we learned is taking that floor out is not going to be an easy task. We're not just going to go in there and say, put a new floor in. So for base bid, it's going to say, we're going to leave the floor in and repair any tiles that might be loose or delaminated. And is there an opportunity to coat that floor with something without taking it out? We're going to look into that. There'll be an alternate bid to consider a terrazzo floor or some other floor, but we need to make sure that we're not breaking the bank on some of these items. So that we had to look at. We cored the gym floor, and we did indeed find below it the existing mercury-containing rubber floor over the concrete. So we suspected that was there, that was in the budget, but we did confirm it's there. So no, environmentally, we have to address that package. We don't want these surprises when we document and then later have a contract. So we do everything we can to learn up front. Site soil conditions are being reviewed. The adhesives on marker boards, chalkboards, tack boards, we took some areas, took off corners, and tested that to make sure we know what is behind it. We camera scope all of the lines below the floors to make sure they were in good condition and what the materials were. We know where we have to cut floors out to replace some of those things right up front. And tomorrow we're doing a soft dig process, and that is to find a lot of the site utilities, which I'll show you shortly. So our ongoing review, we have a challenging building and site-based project. We know that. We're fortunate at Ricetown, Rolling Hills, Hillcrest moving forward, Rolling Hills, and maybe Newtown down the road to benefit from the old, Richboro Middle School. We've been very lucky to have that as a building. On this project, because of logistics, the duration of the project, and just the number of kids, it's just not possible to move those kids across town to use the former Richboro Middle School. We also know that us, along with our professionals, have a lot of experience in phasing projects. And aside from here, I've phased many projects in my own life outside of here, multi-year phase projects. So we did it here at Churchville, Holland Mill, Good Noel, and Holland Middle School. So there's a lot of experience and knowledge from doing it there. We're going to implement those practices on this project, and when we do develop a phasing plan, we will be sure to sit with John Harlan and staff. We'll be sure to sit with parents. We'll be sure to have a community meeting where we invite whomever from the Upper Makefield, Soul Limestone community want to come, and I'll be there, Dewey will be there, the architect will be there, and we'll talk about how we're going to phase it, building phasing, site phasing, who they would call with concerns, how we're going to address environmental issues, certainly with no kids in the building when we do those things. But we'll make sure that we address that like we have in other projects. There is a very good chance that this summer will be the first phase of construction, and we'll do some environmental work this summer when kids leave, so we can get ahead of some of that before we start the project proper. And also, because of phasing, get some spaces ready for John. We're going to lose some classrooms in the building to put the new addition on, so we want to make sure that we're finding those classrooms, and we'll develop those spaces in the building over the summer, so that when kids come next year, the building is ready for the number of classrooms that are needed for each, number of sections for every grade level that we need. And I've worked with, as recent as today, Andy Sanko and John Harlan to sit and look at the plan and figure out exactly how we're going to do that, knowing that some sections will jump from this year to next year in some of the grade levels.
So I don't know if you're going to touch on finances here at all, but has there been any progression, any work on looking at the cost of borrowing to fund these projects? Because I'm sitting here just racking up these costs in my head. Right? So we've talked a couple times about looking at issuing more bonds.
Mhm.
Have we had any progress on that at all?
The three of us, meaning myself, Doug, and Bill, have had multiple conversations about that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we haven't been ready yet to bring anything formally
Any
to the
idea
board, but,
when we might have that discussion?
I would say as early as next month. I don't know that for sure, just because our conversations haven't evolved to that
Can we
degree,
have-
but,
I'm sorry.
no, it's okay.
Can we see if, maybe you can prompt Bill to see if we can talk about it at the next finance committee meeting, just to even give an update of where we are?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
That'd be great.
Okay, I'm going to talk about money from here, not borrow money, where we are with budget. So we have a lot of challenges with site utilities. We have sanitary system lines and septic lines that already are in place. Number two, fuel oil lines from the storage tank, water lines from the on-site domestic well, electric service fiber. We're putting in new propane tanks buried with propane lines to serve new propane-fired boilers, so we'll no longer use dirty number two fuel oil. We'll have efficient gas-fired units, although not natural gas, propane, which is similar. New electric service from the street, so we can actually have the service we need within this building for all the things we'll have. The well will remain, but we'll put new pumps and equipment in for the well. The septic tank will get all new equipment, but the field will remain. The septic field is acceptable. DEP has looked at that. They've approved it. We have no issues with any of that. So we're working away on this, but in this area, this is Eagle Road, and the existing drive is right in here. This is where a lot of the utilities currently live, and this is also where all the new utilities will need to come in, and that's the first phase of construction. We need to get these 13 classrooms, 12 classrooms constructed, so we have this to start moving kids back and forth as we renovate the rest. So just to give you an idea of what we're working towards, so tomorrow we're doing this thing called a soft dig. It's basically air and water, and they will, instead of putting a backhoe in the ground and digging and seeing where something is, we could rip it up. This kind of gently introduces water and displaces the earth, and you find what is below it by kind of that mixture, high pressure of doing those things. So what we're trying to do, like everything else, is figure out exactly where the utilities are, how deep they are. Because when we do this, we'll know how deep they are. And how effective we can be in planning this work. This is the corner of that new addition that I showed you. This is the front of the building. Eagle Road is out here. That's the drive I mentioned. New utilities coming in. And you can see we have new electric. We have new data cable. We have the tanks, the buried propane tanks, and that'll be a line to come across to serve equipment in the outdoor mechanical area and into the building. We have water lines from an underground water storage tank for the fire suppression system, the sprinklers. We have new stormwater lines, sprinkler lines. We have electric to that, all sorts of stuff. These gray lines are what's already in place. So we need to make sure that we get the new utilities in, ready to supply services to that new building after the first year. We need to be up and running. We can't wait until the next year to get it in. So we've got to find our own unique pathways to get this stuff in while maintaining the services that are there. And then next summer, transitioning over from one service to the other. So I just kind of want you to see, that's the oil tank and the oil lines, that's electric. And we're working over all of this and around this, and we have a new building that's going to go in. We want to get foundations in, but we can't touch any of this stuff. So we're working on creating the zones we need for that work. It's a lot of homework, it's a lot of prep, but, things that we're working on. So, as I said, this is that classroom addition that goes on first. That's gonna be our swing space. So instead of spending millions of dollars on temporary modulars, we're gonna pay more money for phasing and dealing with some of these things in temporary provision. But we have a loss of, 5 classrooms downstairs and 2 classrooms here to create these spaces. So we're working with John, and we've developed the staging plans. I'll show you where we found homes for those programs right off the bat, so we're not displacing kids in the building for next year. We're gonna have a home for everybody, suitable for teaching. After the first year, some of those temporary provisions go away, because we'll have more spaces than we need for every phase after that, as far as, because we're building 5 additional classrooms into this project, we will realize the benefit of that from phase 2 through completion. So we'll be in very good shape after the first year. The first year will be the most challenging. So I'll go through that later. I just wanted you to kind of get an understanding of how the phasing is looking. Building phasing, we know that we've learned a lot, with the 7 classrooms, we found a way, and we worked closely with John and Andy to locate those for 1 school year only. We know that we have to take the library roof off, because the existing structure is, really deflecting. It's not dangerous, it's not going to collapse. But it's basically with a bunch of 2x4s kind of on end, laminated, and set on the roof to create a wood roof structure. But those have kind of, banana shaped over the years. It's just not happening.
How long ago was that done?
60s, 50s.
Wow.
An engineer today would say it would never work. Yeah. But it worked.
It's distinctive. I mean,
it is.
one of the more special, it is one of the more special facilities in the county.
It is.
Quite the edge.
But because of that roof, so now we're taking a roof structure off and putting a new roof on, which we didn't really plan on putting, we're gonna take the existing kitchen basically entirely off because there's a chase underneath it that's just, you can't put new utilities in for all the new systems with the chase. We're gonna kind of take that off and build that kitchen. The existing AD ramps in the building, ADA ramps have to be taken out and elongated because they don't meet the minimal, the slope is too great for a wheelchair, the way they exist, so we have to fix those.
Doug, with all this construction going on, I know we had this, a little bit of this activity, I guess it was Hollandville. Has there been any, discussion about bringing the ABIT kids that were working construction in for a tour, or is that a little bit of time? Because it's interesting things like engineering and, what kind of codes we had or didn't have back in the 50s and 60s, how it applies today. I think that's, we are a school district, so I think it's very common.
I know that we, Dewey, had led some tours with some of the groups of our own kids when we were doing these things that had interest in similar kind of programs. Dewey would be very receptive. I would be receptive to bringing any groups out that we feel, whatever, the group would like to do. I'm certainly willing, and Dewey would be to take kids, whether it's several times throughout a year, or, and it could be limited, some phases could be more limited than what we're willing to take them, but, we're always happy to help educate, kids.
But how do we do that just as a matter of practice? Like when we have these projects going on, we let these kids know, obviously we don't want to disrupt the construction process, but if we have an opportunity where they can see what happens in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and how the process goes, I just think it's a tremendous opportunity for them.
Even the work that's going on right now.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
part of the process. Yeah, it's really valuable.
Like this salt thing, I don't know. That's fascinating. I can't, but I love to. So, we brought this up before, I know we had toured, like I said, I think it was Hollandville or Newtown Middle, but how do we just make that as a matter of course, that we open it up to, there's MBIT kids in the construction program, they should be seeing this, or given an opportunity to see it.
Yeah. I think, Doug, maybe we, reach out to Kathy Strauss at MBIT, find out which of our kids are in that particular program. And then we can organize from there.
Yeah, because I know we had kids through once at Howard.
Yeah.
We might have been from MBIT.
I don't know, last time I asked that.
So,
I think we did have some kids from MBIT go through Holland.
yeah, so we're happy to do that, and we can bring them in and kind of review the project with them, the drawings, and then kind of show them some of the actual pieces. So, we'll talk to Kathy. And then temporary egress stairs, we're gonna put some temporary stairs from the second level of that area that's 2 stories, where we're putting the new addition, because we're kind of terminating the egress from the second floor for the first year. So there's things that we have to do, and the utility work is also another thing. Some of the other work, the improvements to Eagle Road, we have confirmed, we haven't gotten a formal review letter, but they have talked to our engineer that we know they're gonna ask for a turn lane in the southbound lane as you come around the hard turn. And listen, it's hard to argue that. You come around the turn, there's people stacked to turn in, and you're turning into, brake lights. It makes sense to pull people over. We are moving the road, which we thought might be enough, but it's not going to be enough. So there are some concerns for the budget, and I'm going to review that in greater detail, but we know the current bidding climate and contractors are very busy and selective. Right now, the construction world is as busy as it's ever been, It's, people can't believe that it's still continuing to rise as high as it is, but it is. The multi-year phase construction, which is going to be about 3 years, but that library piece will take us a little longer now because we can't do that over the last summer. Knowing we have to take the roof off it, it's going to add time. So we'll use one of the classrooms for a library while we finish that piece of the project near the end. And the PennDOT work. So just to give you an idea, this is the hard turn that we're talking about. This is heading south on Eagle Road as we go. They want some sort of, and this is very schematic and informal, it's just to give you an idea of where they want a turn lane that will allow us to turn safely into here and get off of Eagle Road. We may have to extend it to a new bus drive over here as well. And then shoulder widening through the rest of the project. And that requires a relocation of about 10 telephone poles and the wire along this whole length. And it's all on our side. I mean, as far as I know to this point, we're not asking us to do anything to the other side of the road. It's all on the distance side.
Do the utilities cover the cost of pole relocation?
It's about $15,000, $10,000 to $15,000 a pole, a new pole. So we put the new poles in, and then one utility provider after the other comes in. And then what's supposed to happen, the last utility that moves their respective wire is supposed to be the one that takes the old pole out. But as you notice on most sites, getting the poles out is always a challenge, so.
Doug, is this an absolute surprise, or did we have conversations quietly that we may be looking at this?
I think the surprise is the turn lanes. I think we budgeted a shoulder, so that if I wants to widen the road and provide a shoulder across the frontage, we didn't think we'd have to relocate the poles and utilities and put the turn lanes in.
Only field?
No. That'd be hard to reveal. It's PennDOT. The township can say they want us to do it. PennDOT's the one who's going to say whether we are or not. Even if somebody said, we want it, the township said, or the PennDOT said, no, you're not, then the answer would be we're not. But PennDOT drives this 100%.
And I think from a safety standpoint,
So all I can say is,
Question, sorry to go back. So, when you're looking at this particular slide, could you point out like where the addition would be?
yeah, I'm sorry. So the addition is that 13 kind of classroom addition is right here. Right?
So that is a playground
This
to
is
get
all
moved?
the playgrounds are, yes, we're doing some playground work over
Okay.
here. Yep, we're not gonna lose it, we're just gonna move a little bit of it.
Okay.
And, yeah, so that's where the classroom addition is, right here.
Okay.
And then this is gonna be the bus loop, in and out staff parking in the middle of the bus loop, and then this is where the new entrance is on the side of the building, so we'll walk across into the new entrance off the end. And then parent drop-off independent of it, and that comes up into here and leaves. And there'll be a physical connection that's gated here, so for evening events, you'll have all of this asphalt area to park in versus, I know when there's an evening event, parents are parking all over here as well and walking across, so it'll free up some of that.
It doesn't, we weren't doing renovations, PennDOT would not have an issue with this.
Right. Yeah, and once we touch it to the degree we are, it
Yeah.
triggers everything.
Yeah, right.
And even if you build a new building back here, all of this will still be required, if you know. And the new building still sounds nice, and it gets away from the phasing and all that, but it's still $5 million more than what we're talking about, or maybe 4.5, but it's still more. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it, you know, it was $3 million on one project, $5 million on, you know, if it was $3 or $4 million at Rolling Hills, if it was $5 million at Holland, that's $8 million that we're applying for the next project. So try to be mindful of all the other projects down the road. So we looked at, Dewey did a budget, line item budget update on the 50% design development documents, which are now progressed to the point where you can really sense what the project is, the square footages, all of the different features. After doing so, they identified about an additional $916,000 worth of cost. So now we're looking at $30,916,000. We sat at the table, one of our meetings as a group, and found about $500,000 of that in reductions, base bidding certain things, making alternate bids for nice to have, not necessarily need to have items. With that, our increase was at $416. We looked at our project contingency, and we said, hey, we can maintain $935,000 contingency after removing that 416, so we said, we're at 30 million, we still have a contingency of 935,000, we feel okay with that. But then, the PennDOT piece came, and that's just not money we can overcome as far as where we are. So, we weren't adjusting the 30 million budget to this point, I really want to wait until we get the review letter. We have a contingency of 935,000, we have allowance built in to the estimates for the contract is totaling about $640,000. So we have some money that we feel comfortable with. We'll further review the budget once we get the drawings to the next stage of actual construction documents, where they move from schematic to design development to construction documents. And we'll take a look after the land development process, after PennDOT's done, after we finish some of the additional work, and we can find out where we are. But we found about $500,000 after going through some additions. The utility poles at Eagle Road added about 150. We've made some architectural changes, things that won't really compromise the building, won't compromise the program. Just strategies. Phasing was one of the bigger increases because of some of the things that we're encountering with utilities and taking the roof off and doing other things. So we found about $500,000. We reduced the contingency, so we're still holding the 30 million, but we really have to see what happens with PennDOT. We think it could be somewhere around $500,000. Until I get a formal review letter, because here are all the things you need to do. I can't really speak to it any greater than this.
What's your typical, is it percentages of the entire project or your contingencies, and how do you figure that?
Yeah, and some of it's not always a percentage, it's based upon past projects and monies that we spend. We want to have some monies there in case, you know, we find unforeseens that are greater than what this allowances help us address. We also want to make sure we have the monies in there for the technology and the furniture, fixture, equipment, things like that. So it's really just a comfort level. I'm comfortable minimizing it, knowing that we have a strong team, that we do a lot of homework, and we really try to find things up front. If you told me to use a different architect and a different CM, I'd tell you I want a bigger contingency. I feel good with the team with that. So we did have a very good meeting with Upper Makefield, last week, when you had finance, we were there, and we had a planning commission meeting, and it went very well. I believe what they authorized was the conditional approval of the project, assuming that the zoning hearing board meeting goes as planned. We don't have to go back to planning commission if they take exception to any of our zoning hearing requests. Then we would have to go back to planning, but I think we'll be okay. We're going to go back on the 21st of January to see the supervisors to review our application for the zoning hearing. Not everybody requires that, Upper Makefield does, so we'll go back to that. Then we'll go on the 28th of January to the zoning hearing board, and then the plan is to go back for conditional approval in February for the project. So we're hoping that it goes that way. But they've been great to this point. Actually, really a lot of fun, good group of people. And the timing of the project it still remains all in place. Really looking for the construction phase in July of 20 to start with some of that early phase stuff. Star Center, this is easy. Breslin is progressing with the documents, and our approvals are moving forward. We had a very good meeting on the 12th. 10th? 10th. Tonight's 12th. We had a good meeting on the 10th, and the planning commission did give us that conditional approval. They were equally good to work with.
Any public there?
No. Eileen Silver was there, representing a supervisor sitting off of this planning. And then we'll go back next week to see the Board of Supervisors, where I expect that we'll have to say, I feel like we're pretty good shape. And that project is, again, bidding in February, back to facilities in April, and review the bids, hopefully approval on the 23rd of April, and then construction starting in April, which would be good stuff. The North project, we had a mandatory pre-bid on December 4th. We had 11 bidders here at our mandatory pre-bid, which is a good number. And those bids are due next week, so we're anxious to see where those bids come in.
They wouldn't have 11, excuse me, may I? They wouldn't have 11 different turf systems, would they? I mean, are we talking?
No, we specified 4 turf types. We specified the larger fiber turf, the 2.5 inch, which has more fill. And 4 good companies who reviewed it with the athletic directors, and they were good with the system. So there are many, many, many turf providers, but there are 4 really, we feel, really good providers out there that represent the NFL stadiums and some other major installs throughout the country.
Great.
The capital projects bidding is on track. Recommendation, we expect to be back at the meeting on the 9th of January with the recommendation for those bids. That's going well. South is also part of the same approval as the Star Center, and that was also approved by the Planning Commission, and that will be hopefully approved next week as well. At that meeting, the turf south. This is kind of the remaining, after these 10, these are kind of the remaining meetings that we're looking at. I think the remaining meetings, there could be 1 or more stuck in it Upper Makefield, but that's okay. The capital project, at the November meeting, we reviewed the 5-year plan and the proposed budget of about $4.2 million for the 2020 project. We discussed the need to address deferred projects, and there were around $6 million. Consider borrowing money to address those deferred projects, and then maybe an ongoing annual budget of $4 million to address preventative maintenance. I wasn't here for this as I was at Upper Makefield, and I know that after those discussions, for good reason, outstanding, maintaining minimum fund balance, monies due to NBIP, our budget for 2020 is not $4.25, but it is in the range of $2 million to $2.6, roughly, depending on how much money we end up sharing with NBIP and where everything lands. So I quickly looked at how we can address those bids, knowing that the budget isn't quite the same. We also discussed the ongoing discussion about maybe borrowing money for deferred projects. I worked with Bill and bundled some of those projects to make them bigger projects that are similar, that pull some of them back, that avoid some of the interest in pushing them further back. That maybe brings us to like $5.5 million deferred projects number versus 6, and finishes the work a little sooner. So if Bill looks at that down the road, we can consider those benefits a little bit. So the game plan, and that was just the deferred projects we talked about, and how we did the budget, and these slides have changed to represent that we're now looking at something less. So this is the list of proposed projects for next summer. The Walt Schneider Stadium at 1.4 is out of this budget. So of the 2 to 2.6, we already know that 1.4 is committed. The bigger piece of this was the 1.5 million for the tennis courts and basketball courts at the south. So the strategy is to remove that, and when doing so, we're about 2.3 million, which is kind of right in the middle of what the range may be. We don't know what the actual number will be. That's based on all of our estimates and some soft costs. So maybe we'll end up at the lower end and be okay with all the things we need to do. We've added a couple items in there. HVAC at the admin is north, which is problematic. Actually, that's south. And softball field improvements at north, which is a current Title IX issue that we've been discussing with some softball parents. So things we need to do. So we'll have to see, but we might be okay absent this project. What we then also decided to do is, hey, why don't we document that other project as a part of the South Turf that's going out to bid, with no guarantee that we can do it. But what we know is we're paying a design professional to document it. They'll collect 80% of the fee if we don't actually build it. The other 20% wouldn't be billed to us for the construction management piece of it. Those documents would be good next year or the year after with some minor modifications to pull them up to whatever, if there's any code issues, or just tailoring them to the next bid phase. However, by documenting that now, bidding it with that tennis basketball court project or with the turf project, we're going to bid it as a separate number. So if you're bidding the turf and you want to put a combined number in and bid this with it, show us what your breakout number is to do this work while you're there doing the other big work. Maybe that number will be reasonable because they're already there doing stuff with big equipment, and they're just driving it across and doing this work at the same time. You're essentially taking the end of the fence off, and you're driving through all of those courts and tearing it out, taking out all the subgrade, taking out all the stone, and going further down and putting a more substantial stone base in and preparing the earth better than it was prepared the first time. And then you're repaving and doing a lot of the activities they're doing at the turf field. So, and the other part of that bid is you can bid it as just the tennis basketball court bid. So if I'm a guy that just wants to bid that project, I'm going to come in and put a number on it, and we'll see the number from the other guys that are bidding the bigger project. And whichever is low, whether it's low from the combined or low from a single guy, we'll see what the number is. And then we can come back and say, hey, the number is extremely favorable, what do we want to do? And if the answer is we just don't have the money, we can't, we'll still have the documents, we will not have wasted the money, and we can use this at a later date. So that's the strategy for the bids for next summer. And that's everything we kind of discussed. So the plan is, I think we recognize what the budget is. We have in the past done the board approve the budget, but I'm not sure how we would approve the budget per se, not knowing what the number really is. So if we're okay with the bidding and seeing where things land, then we'll make a recommendation based on what we know. We'll work closely with Bill. Excuse me. So Dewey is working on these projects that we know we can work on, and we'll be bidding those in March. I'll review this at a March Facilities Committee meeting. in March, we can have the board approve those bids, and that gives us time to get everything ordered and ready to go. Excuse me. This is the stuff Pauline went over earlier. Agenda items, the Act 34 resolution. We have a series of change orders to be approved. These are from 18-19. They're all credits for unused allowances for these respective projects. The total credit of about $27,000. So that's good news. We have salt and de-icing materials bid. This is bags of salt that we use in each building that we would use for sidewalks, and the guys would use for hand, addressing sidewalks. And then bulk rock is for the back of the trucks that we use spreaders and take care of it. So we have some favorable numbers, and that is here. And then upcoming meetings, we have the Star Center turf final approval hopefully on the 18th of the township. In 9 January meeting, we'll review all of the projects that we have out there. We'll review the bids for the North Project turf. We'll talk a little bit more about Hillcrest and Richboro and the beginning phase of getting those started, and perhaps where things are with the summer project. And then on the 23rd, pending the board approves that, next week we have that here, Act 34 hearing. And that is it.
Good stuff.
Okay. Any questions?
Do we have any board comments? Any public comments? Nobody's here. Sir, anything?
Oh, no, I'm here to talk about my, educational leadership series.
Good.
Steve has been great. Steve is with Chuck Lambert's program, and we've been working with Steve and his fellow associates over at LSAC, and they've been instrumental in programming that project. So
Great.
It's been a fun process, and really exciting to see what you actually do. It's amazing.
Yeah, and thank you. Mr. Block, Dr. Thorwart?
I'm good here.
Nice job with the first meeting there, Ed.
What's that?
I said, great job moving through the first meeting. There was a lot of stuff covered.
Herding cats, Mr. Block, herding cats. Okay, so if that's it, then I'm gonna finish the meeting. We're done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Good. Thank you.